Oh, please let me stop smiling now. Yes, hopefully that's enough. The obligatory smiling phase of the pre production mode of the Xander Gibb Show. I am, of course, Xander Gibb, um, gearing up for tonight's edition of the Xander Gibb Show. Got some great guests for you and some great topics. And we will be having some great discussion in the chat. I'm just sharing the show to various places. Where the heck did that go? We're getting there. If you just joined us, we are in the pre-production mode of the Xander Gibbs Show. Oh, yes, sirree. Don't forget about our drinking game. Every time I say the phrase, oh, yes, sirree, you can take a little nip of whatever floats your boat, whether that be whiskey, brandy, coffee, tea, water, whatever you please. We're just sharing to Parlor. Anybody having any luck with Parlor? Because frankly, I don't think I am. It's funny. It's funny because it's true. It's been a good day today. Here we go. Let's make sure the It's funny because it's true. It's been a good day today. There you go, Xander. Little Xander Gibb there in the background. Just sharing to Instagram. Oh, yes, we are getting there. But where? I do not know. Hi, Carla. Thank you for sharing the video. I will be in the live feed in just one moment. It's so darn warm here. Is it warm where you are? Again, it keeps saying, that it's 61 degrees, but I kind of think it's got to be a heck of a lot more than that. We just did Instagram. We just shared to there. We just got to open it here. Go to. There we go. Just opening the live chat so we can talk. Because it is a talk show. After all, it is the talk show that gets you talking. If you see me grimacing, then I will tell you why. It is that I've got terrible neuralgia. Hello, Roberto. Welcome. I hope you're sharing your vodka. It's shared to a few pages on Facebook. Here we go. Before we get started. Where are we going? Just talk amongst yourselves. Just while we shared to a couple of pages, because it's caught on to this thing that I was doing, where it gave you the whole list of all of the pages that you follow. But now it doesn't do that because Zuckerberg is, so anti-conservative that, he walks with a wiggle and talks with a lisp, apparently. But we got to be nice, haven't we? Sometimes. Here we go. Let's share to a couple more pages before we go live to the nation. Or I always say the nation, it should be the internation because we go out internationally to the community. Where are we? It is warm. It is too warm tonight. Ooh, got some juicy gossip for you later. Some juicy political stuff. Here we go. I've lost where I'm at just for a change. Okay, let's share it to a couple more. Before we start, feel free to click that share button. Yes, Zucker is a sucker. I can think of plenty more names to call him. Just sharing to a few more pages before we get started for today's edition of the Xander Gibb Show. Why do people insist on calling you, messaging you when you're broadcasting? There we go. We are ready to go live with today's edition of the Xander Gibb Show. Cue opening titles in 5, 4, 3, 2, go.
It has been good to me this time around. Things were bound to change when it was found. Sugar never tasted sweeter on my lips. My heart is now intact and I can find no ribs. This is love, yeah, love. Never known true love before. Seen so many counterfeits that left me on the floor. This is love, yeah, love. All will come to those who wait. Time it cannot know the bounds, and eras don't dictate.
Hello and welcome to today's edition of the Xander Gibb Show, the talk show that really does get you talking on the Xandermonium Network, live from an undisclosed location. I've got the wrong teeth in tonight, just for a change. Yes, bringing you the very best in Patriot broadcasting 5 nights a week. I'm Xander Gibb, and on tonight's edition, I get on my soapbox, breaking down and analyzing the real news. Dr. Gerard Lamiro joins us, and in part 2, CV Burton from Freedom on Deck drops by to break down today's hottest topics. You can have your say in the feed below, and I'll be sharing your comments as we go. You can follow me on social media, everywhere but Twitter, of course, and you can also find out everything you need to know except my waist measurement, my weight, my date of birth at xandergibb.com. So check me out. Oh, yes, sorry. Let's come to the live feed and say hello to everybody therein. Where are we? Let's go backwards. Hello to Carla. Hello to Roberto. Hello to my Gina. Welcome to the show. Hello to everybody that's watching, but not in the live feed. Do come and join us. You are more than welcome. We are live any second on all of the networks for today's edition of the Xander Gibb Show. Dun, dun, dun. And now it's time for Xander's news of the day. I really need a jingle for there. I'll have to get that sorted sometime when I'm not working or sleeping or writing. So a top Metropolitan Police official has defended officers who stopped in a car which Black Labour Member of Parliament, damn autocue, Dawn Butler was traveling in. Now, the former Shadow Equalities Minister accused officers of racial profiling and said the force was institutionally racist after she and her friend were pulled over in Hackney, East London on Sunday. Now, she recorded a video of the incident, which was later shared widely on social media, and she claimed that they'd been pulled over by the officers simply for being black and driving a nice car. Interesting, maybe the officers could see through the steel and knew that they were black, considering they were driving behind them. Scotland Yard Deputy Commissioner Sir Steve House has defended the officers' conduct after reviewing the incident and saying they acted professionally and politely. Also, he said the officers in this case came into work on Sunday to keep Londoners safe. Officers expect to be scrutinized, and there are existing appropriate and proportionate processes for making complaints for facts to be established, and on the occasions where there is fault, unlike this case, for consequences to follow. Now, after the incident, Scotland Yard said the stop was as a result of the officer having incorrectly entered the car's registration plate on a computer and wrongly identifying it as a vehicle registered to Yorkshire. Now, the force said that once the mistake was realized, the officer explained the situation and let the pair go. I mean, guys, please. Number one, police officers won't pull you over for nothing, usually. This BS about the fact that they've got quotas to fill is exactly that, BS. Number two, they can't see through steel, so they don't know the skin tone of the person driving the car if they're kind of observing from behind, unless they have x-ray vision. I am tired of these accusations. Hi, chat. Welcome to the live feed, my brother. I am tired of these accusations that every cop is racist. It's not true. If you mess up on the road and you get pulled over, you have no one else to blame, whether you be black, white, whatever color you may be. So Meghan Markle and the Queen allegedly got on swimmingly as soon as they met. Royal biographer Omid Scobie and Caroline Durand wrote in the new Sussex biography, Finding Freedom. But can we believe reports from this pro-Markle book? Their first meeting ran overscheduled by 10 minutes. Big deal, which is a huge deal apparently for the famously punctual Queen. The conservation, that was very Freudian. Let's go backwards. The conversation flowed naturally, unlike my commentary, between the future Duchess and the monarch. Scobie and Durand write, even though they were not present and have not spoken to the Queen. So the future Duchess of Sussex officially met the Queen in 2017, although they'd had a fleeting encounter earlier that year when Meghan and Harry literally bumped into her. The meeting took place in the Queen's private apartments in Buckingham Palace. Harry and Meghan rode the Queen's elevator, a stunning wrought iron lift from the previous century, up to the monarch's private entrance. Sounds a bit dirty. The royal correspondents write, the inner sanctum of the Queen's private apartment was not at all what Meghan expected, not that she really knew what to expect. Now, am I the only one thinking this book is a PR exercise? Let's face it, if they've not spoken to the Queen or any of the royal family or anybody else but Meghan and Harry, surely this is going to be written from their perspective. Thank you for sharing, chat, and thank you to everybody else who has shared the show already. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, one of the most prominent and outspoken and boring progressives in the Democrat Party, will have just 1 minute to deliver remarks at a virtual Democratic National Convention next week. That long. She's scheduled to speak on Tuesday. She will pre-record the address from her base in New York and write it herself with the blessing of one of the Democratic National Committee and obviously the help of someone with a command of the English language. Earlier this year, she co-chaired Biden's Unity Climate Change Task Force with former Secretary of State John Kerry. She was appointed to the panel as a representative of Senator Bernie Sanders from Vermont, whom she endorses in the race for the Democratic nomination. She now wishes to be known as 62nd No Neocortex. Gina says she left a message on Dave Kubik's Facebook page. We're concerned for him. Yeah, we've not seen him for a while, Gina, and we were quite worried about him. I'm hoping that he's all right. He's in Facebook jail. Right, I see. Well, not that I feel good about that, but I feel better than it being something rather more concerning. Hi to CV, welcome to the live feed. Susan Rice, aka Dirty Rice, admitted under oath she emailed with Hillary Clinton on Clinton's non-governmental email service system and received emails related to government business on her own personal email account. TikTok, Dirty Rice. You wait till President Trump has his second term. We're coming after you and all of the Obama misadministration. And finally, infectious disease specialist Dr. Stephen Smith says whatever they call it, hydroxychloroquine is the beginning of the end of the pandemic. Dr. Stephen Smith announced this, that the study is a game changer in the battle against coronavirus. So why don't they want to use it? Clearly because the Donald backs it. Maybe President Trump needs to say that it's crap and not to use it, and then they will want to use it. That was Xander's news of the day. Yeah, HCQ. Got to be a contortionist to be able to say the word. That was Xander's news of news of the day. I am the news of the day. If you want to come and get on your soapbox and talk about any news item, you can go to xandergibb.com/contact and you can contact me via there and we will get you on to talk about it. We've got time for a couple of calls. If you are in the United States of America, you can call us on 845-363-4747. If you're calling from the UK, you can call us on 0208-133-5274. That's 0208-133-5274 if you are in the United Kingdom. And 845-363-4747 if you are indeed in God's own land, the United States. Chet says they don't want to use it in order to undermine the president, and they want to make big bucks for the vaccine. Yeah, I'm not an expert on these issues, but apparently it costs phenomenally less to use HCQ than it does to use the alternative, the one that vaccine that Bill Gates is pushing. So it is all about money. And I don't know, I think the concern is, for me, maybe the way forward is for President Trump to poo-poo things that he wants to work, because then the left will automatically say that it works. Hello to Andrew. Welcome to the live feed. Andrew says the vaccine is needed internationally and we all need to get through it. CV says they want as many people to die from the Chi-Com as possible. Welcome to the Xander Gibb Show. You are our first caller. What's your name and where are you calling from, Chet?
Hello.
There you are.
I'm here, brother. My voice has to go up like 5 decibels just to get as deep as you.
Welcome back to the show, Chet.
Do I have that deep of a voice? Is it that bad?
No. It's kind of intermittent, whereas mine is kind of pretty low. And I don't know. The more tired I am, the more deeper it gets. But yours is really kind of up there. So how you doing? How's the weather? What has kind of jumped out at you today? What's pissed you off? What's made you think, oh my God? And are you proud of, let me ask you first of all, before you tell me all of that, aren't you proud to have Alexandria Ocasio, no neocortex, representing your state?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's a big win for us over here. I mean, she only chases businesses out of New York, not inviting them in. So, I mean, it's pretty bad when Governor Cuomo says you lean too far to the left. So, but, you know, this is New York. This is what we do.
Yes.
We elect people that can't get anything done, people that actually try to drag our state down. And I was, Dan, I'll tell you, really good stuff coming from de Blasio. He wants to set up our homeless in hotels. It only costs us $2 million a day. And that's,
wow.
Those are serious numbers.
Let me ask you this, because this just dropped into my mind. Which civic dignitary is visiting New York? Because I remember when the Pope came to New York, they set up all the homeless people in these homeless, what they called suites. and then as soon as the Pope had gone, they kicked them back out on the street again. So I have to question what is behind this. I mean, obviously, we should be helping those that are less fortunate than ourselves, but I do question the motivation of de Blasio and his, cohorts.
Yeah, I don't know what the motivation is. I mean, it's obviously to break the backs of the American people. Apparently, listening to how we would be taxed over this, it would not only be New Yorkers taxed. This is everybody that's going to pay for this, just so you know. And if you want me to share the article, I will. This is going to affect everybody.
Sure.
I know some people would say $2 million a day is a drop in the bucket. No, it's not. Listen, we have so many homeless in New York City. If we took just $2 million to build them some sort of a place where they could stay and where they'd have running water and all those nice amenities, they'd be fine with that. We don't have to put them up in the Four Seasons, Mr. de Blasio.
No. I have a better suggestion than that. How about we find the money that Bill de Blasio's wife misappropriated, and let's use that for I'm being kind of like, politically correct, that she stole. Let's allegedly, let's find that money and use that and build a great big homeless center in Brooklyn, and notice I said Brooklyn, and then everybody will be able to kind of benefit from it, because I think part of the problem is when everybody kind of comes into the city, it makes it a bigger problem. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, everybody's leaving the city. I mean, I just saw numbers from last month on how many people left New York, and it's astounding. The problem is when you get New Yorkers or Californians or Connecticut folk moving around the country, they tend to bring their politics with them, and that's the part that hurts the most.
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things for me living in Manhattan, that the only Republicans that I knew were kind of the ones that were either prominent and were appearing on TV shows that I was appearing on radio shows and stuff I was appearing on too, or they lived upstate. And I think that I'm hopeful that the way that everyone has been treated during this pandemic in New York, in the New York area, that it will take a toll on those that are supporting the Democrats, because all of this has affected everybody. I think we're going to be very surprised by the results of the election this time, with regards to those who voted Democrat before, but maybe won't, Yeah,
well, I mean, because they're scared to say that they're going to vote for Donald Trump. That happened in 2016. That's going to happen again. And really, when I thought about it today, Xander, as I was working or driving around, the Democrats put up the two least qualified and absolutely disastrous, unlikable candidates that they could put together.
Right.
Why do I say that about Biden? Show me some good bills that he's passed. I'm sure there are a couple maybe that I would say, okay, but look at the background on Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris.
Divide.
Kamala Harris blatantly called him a racist without calling him
and
a
she
racist.
said,
I don't know how you blatantly do that without really doing it, but she did.
And she also said she believed his accuser. So how would that would be like, basically what's happened is someone's accused him of raping of Joe Biden of being a rapist. See, that was Freudian, wasn't it? A racist rapist, even. And basically,
one's bad enough. Sam.
Yeah, but you can pick either one. Basically, he's chosen someone that believes that he's a race, or whatever. Anyway, someone that rapes women. Yeah.
Yeah, we got to come up with some terminology to put those two together. You know what was weird, Xander? People were talking about this yesterday a lot, about the woman that accused Biden. I forgot about her. You know what's
Do you think that Donald
a
has?
lot of information that you get bombarded with?
Yeah.
I forgot about that woman. And that's sad, man. And the media is to blame for people that don't know what the hell this guy's all about. Not only is he ill-equipped and devoid of any type of reasoning and intelligence because he is, than he was a few years ago, but his background is no good. And the other thing about it, folks,
No.
we finally have ISIS on the run. We finally have radical Islam. Well, Islam, the ones that follow by the book. We're not being attacked. If you put Biden in, can you imagine what's going to happen, Xander? It's going to be ISIS all over the Middle East, all over again.
Right. I'm hoping. One of the things I'm going to ask Dr. Lemire about, because obviously now that Biden's picked his VP, because being someone that uses prediction models, I want to know what he thinks about this. But the scary thing is, for me, I think the biggest thing about this with picking Kamala Harris is he's picked a black woman because he believes that will get him the black vote. But he's obviously not done his research because the black community don't like her. I mean, there's no way she's going to get the 18 to 24 votes because she says they're all stupid. So who has she not insulted? I think the only one she hasn't insulted is the gays, but I'm sure, give me a minute, I could find something.
Oh, the thing is, Xander, she's got a bad track record with her in her community and outside of her community.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. We know that she was for mass incarcerations.
Yeah.
We know that she does favors to get ahead. I'm not going to,
ahead.
Stuff there.
I think you'll find she gives.
The balls there on the shaft.
Yeah.
Maybe Joe Biden picked her for those reasons.
Possibly
the D-pads and the P-pads all in one administration.
You can't say
it would be an embarrassment. This country would never ever recover it from it. And a lot of people are trying to paint her as a centrist. And when you look at every bill that she signed and agreed to, she actually has a worse record than Bernie Sanders when it comes to these liberal laws that are put into place. She actually has a worse record than Sanders, which I didn't know until today.
The two together are phenomenally frightening. But what I'm glad for is that the Donald and Mike Pence will have the opportunity to slay them during the debate.
Absolutely.
And
Mike Pence, a lot of people worry about Pence because he's quiet, but he's a brilliant guy. He'll destroy Kamala Harris.
He will. And quite rightly so, because let's face it, everything is out there. I wouldn't want to run for presidency. I would be worried about some of the things they would come out with. Like, I can't think of examples, and I'm not going to give examples, but your whole life is kind of like, on show.
There was I just wanted to mention something. I was talking to one of my liberal friends. He owns a business in Connecticut, right? So he was sending me some messages, and somehow it came to COVID-19. And we were talking about whether they could give us the vaccines. Obviously, I had different reasons for not wanting to take it. And he didn't want to take it either.
Right.
But he says that he'll wait and see what happens.
Absolutely.
And he told me something interesting, Xander. He has a trucking company out there in Connecticut. I guess they go, from Pennsylvania, New York, all over the East Coast to deliver food through this truck. He said this to me at the very end. I'm working heavy now because when the second strain comes, I'm shutting everything down.
Wow.
And I said, wait, when the second strain comes?
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, because Fauci said we're going to get a second strain in November.
Sorry, I'm sorry to sorry to cut you off, but we have to leave it there because I got about 40 seconds before my next guest comes on.
Okay, sorry, Dan, but it's just crazy. People are
absolutely. Crazy. Listen, thanks for calling, buddy. Chet Martin from Freedom on Deck. Check him out at freedomondeck.com and Freedom on Deck on Facebook. That was my brother, Chet Martin. Make sure you go check him out. So our first guest on tonight's show is author and election models predictor extraordinaire. He's a regular on our show. He is Dr. Gerard Lemire, and he's going to be calling us any minute from the United States of America. Andrew says we all need to be worried about a second wave. I'm not sure we actually have to, I'm not sure we even had a first phase, to be honest. This should be my first guest. of the evening, the fabulous Dr. Gerard Lamiro, calling us from the United States. Welcome back to the show, Dr. Lamiro. How is the world with you, and how is the weather?
Well, I'm doing great, and the weather is all about 90 and sunny.
Whew.
Typical weather.
Absolutely.
And the humidity is probably 20%.
Exactly. It says it says here that in the UK, it's where I am. It says it's 61 degrees, but it feels like 91 degrees. So I don't know why they don't just say it's actually 91. We got so much to talk about. I want to jump in and get your opinions on some stuff. So allegedly, nearly 9 out of 10 Democrats approved the U.S. U.S. Senator Kamala Harris as their party's vice presidential nominee. And apparently she's more popular than the candidate Joe Biden among women, young voters, and some Republicans, according to a Reuters poll released on Tuesday. We have to, however, bear in mind that these are the same polls that told us that Hillary Clinton would win by a landslide. So the August 11-12 public opinion survey also found 60% of Americans, including 87% of Democrats and 37% of Republicans, apparently considered the selection of Harris as the first black woman and Asian woman nominated for the vice presidency to be a major milestone for the United States. Now, the senator, who's unpopular with so many, is apparently viewed as about favorably as Biden with major demographic groups, the poll showed, highlighting her potential to help the former vice president expand his support in November's election. Harris, 55, became the only second black female senator in history when they were elected in 2016. Now, the poll showed Biden's lead over the Republican President Donald Trump was effectively unchanged after he announced his running mate choice, increasing by 1% point among all Americans to an 8-point advantage, well within the poll's credibility interval when compared with similar polls that ran on Monday and Tuesday. So does this read at all into the final result? And where does this sit with, I knew you were going to say that. Where does this sit with the ideology of him being a placeholder?
Well, you asked a lot in one question.
First
of all, I went to Reuters. I also went to Ipsos to look more in depth at this poll, and I have a lot of questions about it. And I honestly think, well, first of all, they only used registered voters, and registered voters, believe it or not, are not a better place mark of who's going to actually vote. Quite a few registered voters, 30% or so, don't vote at all.
Right.
And so it's not a really good, the best kind of voters to sample if you're going to do a poll are likely voters. Those are people that have a high probability of voting. And even likely voters, if they're not intensely interested in the election, might sit home as well, many of them. So it's best to have likely voters with high voter intensity if you're going to do a poll. There's other issues here, too. For example, I do not like statistically the use of a confidence, let's see, what do they call it? They have their own little name for it. Confidence margin or something like that. I don't have it right in front of me at the moment.
Right.
But I may find it while we're talking. But it's a different kind of methodology. Oh, credibility interval as opposed to a confidence interval, which I like much better. And so I have questions about the way they're doing it and the way the questions are written. And I personally don't think the numbers make much sense because in terms, for example, of all Democrats, only 2% were for Kamala Harris when she ran. She dropped out before the Iowa polls because she had so little support. She is very much a strong socialist, leftist radical with leftist positions. I do not think she represents the mainstream of Democrats. So this whole poll would appear like they wanted it to come out this way, as opposed to a real legitimate reading of those likely to vote.
Absolutely.
And that.
The thing that
so I really
go ahead,
I question these numbers. I didn't find any numbers in the thing you read out or in the original material that was put out on the Ipsos website and also on the Reuters website that really seem consistent with other information, polls and forecast models that I'm knowledgeable of. So I think
Right.
this does not look like, to me, a good representation of the real electorate.
No, I don't think so either. But I never trust polls because I think that they're so often wrong. Because it always depends on who you talk to, doesn't it? Just like you just said.
Well, it does, but the idea is that they, in theory, they want to scientifically sample, so they have a representative sample
Right.
of people who are actually going to vote. The problem is so often they do these polls of just random people who may represent some of the characteristics of the electorate, but they're not necessarily those that also vote.
Exactly.
So even
Exactly.
if they're representative of people who just have opinions, it's not as significant as those who are likely to vote and have a high voter intensity.
Absolutely.
So
I wonder.
I really think that the numbers, I would not put too much into the numbers.
Definitely
In
not.
terms of my forecast models, Harris does not add any electorate to Joe Biden. She's from the state of California. The state of California is normally thought to go Democrat without question for a number of reasons, some of which are their outlandish voting techniques, like allowing harvesting of ballots, sending out ballots to people that may not be alive,
Right.
sending out ballots to people that may have moved out of state, and then not culling or reducing their voting rolls when they know, for example, they were ordered to reduce, I think, by 1 million voters, people they thought had been taken or no longer were valid voters, and they didn't do that, apparently. They want to drag their feet and send out all these ballots that are questionable.
Absolutely. I wonder.
But the point,
Go ahead.
the point really is back on Harris, and that is she was not going to add electoral votes. Normally you pick a vice president because they bring you some electoral
Right.
votes. But he's going to carry California no matter what.
Exactly.
She also turns off many other people. She turns
Yeah.
off people in Pennsylvania because of her energy and fracking positions. She's against fracking. She is for open borders. She's for Medicare for all, which means that everybody's Medicare, if we had socialized medicine, would be basically diminished because the money would have to be spread out over more and more people. Her positions just don't really hold water with most voters, and so I don't think she's done anything but actually help possibly lose 2 more states for Biden.
Yeah.
Certainly not win any.
I agree. Certainly another nail in her coffin. I want to go on to part 2 of my question, because every time you come on the show, we talk about the fact that Biden was always a placeholder, and I think it's clear that he's getting worse with whatever he's suffering from, and I do wish him well, regardless of political differences. But does the sliding in of Harris affect your perspective on who might be replacing him?
Well, there are possibilities. For example, suppose between now and his official nomination, he flubs it big time in the press,
Right.
or he makes some other stumble, or they just say, hey, he's not up to it. He's not going to run. He's withdrawing. Then maybe she's going to be the assumed presidential nominee, in which case she may get less votes than he would get.
Yeah.
Because she's even less liked than he is. So that's one possibility. Another possibility is he runs, but in September or October he comes down with stroke or further dementia. I think the people now in the media are acting like he has dementia on the conservative side.
Right.
On the radical left-wing side, they're acting like he's perfectly normal, which nobody really believes,
No.
even in the Democratic Party, from what he said. He said so many strange things.
Yeah,
So,
very strange.
I really think there's a couple of possibilities. One is he doesn't get nominated, even up until now. Number 2 is he gets nominated, but it drops out during the race. Thomas Eagleton ran for vice president and was replaced after the convention during the main campaign, the general campaign. Something like that could happen. Eagleton was running for vice president and had to be taken off for some sort of mental issue question that came up. Another possibility is that in the unlikely possibility that Biden was elected, they could, under the 25th Amendment, replace him with Kamala Harris.
Right. Absolutely. I think between now and the actual election, there's so much that can change. But
Right.
I do think what I do think is really interesting. I feel, and I bow to your expertise, but I feel that his appointment of however you say her name, Kamala Harris, is
It's
detrimental.
like the animal, camel. It's like camel.
Oh, sorry.
No, it is.
Yeah,
It is.
it is, but it just sounds very funny. I think that this is detrimental to his campaign.
Yes, I would say so. I think it brings in more negatives than positives. She also did quite a number criticizing him during the debates, and I'm sure those will show up on Republican commercials to say what she thinks of Biden. And she has a long list of things supporting the green
Right.
new plan of AOC's, $94 trillion. Basically, the kinds of things she do will hurt the energy industry, the automobile industry. If she gets her way with the healthcare system, that could ruin the American healthcare system, which has been doing well, despite some of the leftover regulations from Obamacare. And I just see her as dragging down this ticket.
I do too.
In terms of who else would they replace Biden with, well, I suppose if he were to have something go wrong in September, October, they could still pick someone different. The vacancy committee, there probably is a vacancy committee in the party there.
Right.
And they could still pick Michelle Obama and leave Kamala Harris to stay as VP.
Right. Because there's no way on this planet that she could be the presidential nominee. I mean, she's pushing it being the vice presidential nominee, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think she's in any way qualified. She also has an atrocious record as a prosecutor. She was an attorney, district attorney at the city level, San Francisco, which we know has a million problems.
Yeah.
None of which she solved. And then she became Attorney General for the state of California and has a bad record there. She seems to be steering away from any tough cases, and she went after the little guys. She would throw people in jail, or prosecute, I should say, technically, prosecute people that smoked marijuana.
Yeah.
It's kind of a small thing. In some states, it's becoming legal. And yet she didn't go after any kingpins. She didn't go after any big drug lords. So she didn't tackle the hard cases.
Absolutely.
And so many things she did just seemed weak and unimaginable. No real innovation or anything to really distinguish her as a fine prosecutor. Nothing like, say, a Rudy Giuliani.
No.
Who had this distinguished record of cleaning up New York City.
Yes.
Which, by the way, has since gone down the drain under de Blasio.
For sure. I mean, as a New Yorker, it kind of saddens me to see what both de Blasio and Cuomo have done to the state of New York and the city of New York, because I feel like this has been their plan from day one to actually bring the level of demise, and I don't know why, but they've gone down such radical paths that have been so detrimental to New York City and New York State.
Well, they seem to be supporting Black Lives Matter, which is a Marxist organization,
right,
and Antifa, which is supposedly anti-fascist, but it is fascist in all of its techniques. And it would appear like they're following the socialist plan of many places, where you drive a country into chaos, you create revolution, And anarchy in the history of civilization always led to a totalitarian dictatorship of one form or another. So it would seem like they're trying to move this country toward America, towards socialism.
Right.
And, have economic chaos. That's the perfect ingredient for anarchy.
Absolutely. My final question to you, Dr. Lamiro, as always, we're time bound, is if I every time I talk to you, I feel more confident about the fact that the President Trump is going to win the election. But if by some sheer stretch of the imagination he doesn't, by whatever vicarious means the Democrats use, what do you feel succinctly that means for America?
If Biden were to win,
Yes.
I think it would mean the end of our constitutional republic,
Right.
and it would mean essentially a socialist country. And I think with that, much greater loss of freedom. The person that Biden has selected to manage the issue of guns, and that is somebody who believes in taking them all away.
Yeah.
Beto O'Rourke.
Yeah.
And the person he's giving the energy czarship to, so to speak, is the AOC. And she has said the Green Plan, she wants to retrofit every building in the United States. She wants to shut down cattle. She wants to shut down airlines. She wants to shut down the carbon-based car because it uses gasoline.
Right.
She wants to shut down fracking, or they want to shut down fracking. You put that all together, you have socialism, and we're going to have a poor country. I bet you we would disintegrate into something like Venezuela within a year or two of them taking over, and I don't think we'd be able to come back because I think we'd lose our freedom.
Absolutely.
And have honest elections.
We just have
And all the things they're doing, really mitigate honest elections.
absolutely.
They're doing things like pushing voter harvesting. I'll give you some tip you may not realize, and that is that the reason the House and the Senate and the White House didn't come together on the most recent package is because Nancy Pelosi put in things like voter harvesting would happen throughout the country. No voter signature verification would be allowed.
Yeah.
And of course, mail-in ballots would be allowed. So you have all sorts of things that are ripe for voter fraud. And they seem to be in favor of everything that would allow for voter fraud.
Absolutely.
So I think if they ever get into power, our elections are shot too.
Yeah, I kind of feel this is the most important election of our time. Just time to tell people about your book, your latest book, the latest in a line of books. I'm holding up now, Dr. Lamiro. It's called Real World Socialism, Spiritual, Moral, and Economic Bankruptcy Sold by Using False Hopes and Deceit. That's Dr. Lamiro's latest book, which you can find on Amazon and all good book sellers. But tell people where they can also find out more information about you, Dr. Lamiro.
Sure, they can go to greatnewsforamerica.com. That's my website, greatnews4, F-O-R, America.com.
Absolutely.
And I do roughly one article a week that's on the website, and there's about 200 web pages in my website. So
wow.
Lots of stuff to read. And it also mentions all 6 of my books that are currently in print.
Absolutely.
They are available in Kindle and in hardcover.
Wonderful.
Or print.
It is always a pleasure to talk to you, Dr. Lamiro. I know you're coming back later in the month. Please stay safe, and thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. You have a wonderful show, Xander.
Thank you very much, sir. Have a great week, and we will speak to you very soon.
Great.
Thanks
You
a lot.
too. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. That was Dr. Gerard Lamiro. Check out his latest book, and not just because I'm quoted in it, but because it is an excellent book. A very quick look at the live feed. Carla says, don't know what's going on with the Skype, but it's not. I'm guessing this is our next guest, who's calling in just a little early. He is a political commentator, and he is a co-host from Freedom on Deck, and he is Mr. Eager, Mr. C.V. Burton. Welcome to the show, C.V. How is the world with you, my brother?
Pretty good. How is it with you?
It's too bloody hot, but apart from that, it's pretty much okay. I take it you've got power back and AC and everything else?
Got cable, I got internet, I got all the luxuries of modern life.
Wonderful. That really does make a difference. We don't have AC here in the UK, so we're very primitive, unless you're staying in a hotel. I want to jump right in to our first story, because as always, we are very time-bound. It must be hard for Kellyanne Conway, living with lawyer George Conway, co-founding an entire super PAC, hell-bent on making sure President Donald Trump doesn't see a second term. He made his thoughts on President Trump abundantly clear in a new opinion piece. On Monday, Conway, politically conservative but anti-Trump, published an op-ed with the Washington Post laying out the unreasonable compromises he says voters have to reconcile with in order to support President Trump. Surely Kellyanne must have a clause in her contract regarding her or her family members bringing the administration into disrepute. One of the most recent efforts he has made includes a Twitter campaign called Lincoln Voter, which encouraged former Republican voters to share the reasons they left the political party and decided to vote for a Democratic candidate, mostly because they're stupid, I'm sure. As early as Tuesday morning, the Lincoln Project also released the latest video called Trump Evictions, detailing how many Americans might need to move out of their homes. Is it time for Conway to be reined in, and should this be done via his wife? What say you, CV?
Well, I don't know how much power his wife has over him. I'm surprised she's even still married to him. And but he has a right to his own opinion.
Right.
And, he could even create a super PAC if he wants. I would never want to shut down his freedom of speech because I would be a hypocrite. I have to be consistent, but George has the advantage because he has a tall soapbox on top of the wide shoulders of the monopoly of the left stream media, whereas you and I, we're shadow banned by social media.
For sure. In fact, we proved it. Go ahead. I was just going to say, we proved it the other day. We showed, we got video of my timeline and Tony Lusaco's timeline and proved that they were shadow banning them. That's coming out very soon. We're even going to send it to the AG because it's time for this bullshit to stop.
Right. And also voices like ours are banned from the TV networks as well.
Right.
We're like little fleas. They brush off their wide shoulders like little pests. Except these little fleas, as they see them, have a net weight 10 times greater than the dictators running the left stream monopolies themselves.
Exactly.
Including the hordes of sheep that believe everything they say. You know, the ones who would drive down the street wearing masks on their face inside their own car.
Exactly.
That's a total giveaway.
But
I remember Kellyanne Conway, back in early 2016, she was a very little-known political pundit.
Yeah.
She was cute. She used to tweet out on Twitter, "Oh, I'm going to be on Sean Hannity tonight. Be sure to tune in." She was so proud of that.
Yeah.
And I tuned in, and she was right on point. And and I tweeted to her. I said, "Instant classic."
Right.
And she actually tweeted back and said, "Thank you." And that to me was like being touched by an angel, because she's very attractive, I have to admit. But she's right on. I mean, she was totally on the Trump train early on in 2016.
Absolutely.
And Trump took her under his wing, and she became his counselor of some sort.
Yeah.
And probably spent, because Trump is a total workaholic. He only sleeps like 4 hours a night.
Right.
So George, her husband, must be really jealous of Donald Trump.
For sure.
Because he whisked her away, and he practically never sees her again.
Right. Maybe
and when he does see her, she's probably talking about Trump the
exactly.
whole time.
Maybe you've hit on something there. I want to look at this in corporate terms, CV, because if Kellyanne Conway worked for Trump Industries or the Trump hotel chain, and in her contract it said that she nor her family were allowed to bring the Trump organization into disrepute, and her husband George was tweeting all this trash about President Trump as a private citizen and her boss, she would be liable to being fired, wouldn't she?
I don't know about that. I don't know. And I don't think George has any dirt on Trump. If they had anything substantial about Trump's political private life,
no,
it would have came out already.
No one said.
I mean,
no one's saying.
Obama has been like combing through his taxes. The Obama administration, I mean, the IRS, has been auditing Trump for years, and they have found nothing.
Right. Nobody's saying that George Conway has dirt on Trump, but his commentary is designed to bring ill repute to Trump's administration. So that's what I'm kind of likening that kind of thing to.
Yeah, well, him and he can get in line because they've all been trying it for 4 years. It doesn't work, and his technique of trying to show Republicans, moving away from Trump and voting for somebody else this election is not going to outweigh the fact that more Democrats have left the Democrat Party and voted for Trump in 2016, and even more so this time around, in my opinion.
But isn't it shocking when you think of someone who calls himself a conservative that is actually trying to encourage people to vote for a Democratic Party that is hell-bent on making America a socialist shithole?
That's an old trick. I mean, like you would hear people call up talk show hosts, like the great Bob Grant. I don't know if you remember him. But they would call in and say, I'm a Republican, but I have to say that George Bush, he really is disappointing, and or even further back still, Ronald Reagan, they would call up and say, I'm a Republican, and Ronald Reagan is making me want to leave the party. They're full of crap.
Yeah.
George's not a conservative any more than I'm a communist.
Exactly.
He's full of crap. They do that to make their point more pointed, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, these pretzels are making me thirsty. I want to move on to our next topic. I'm sure you know what show that comes from.
Yes.
I want to move on to our next topic.
I'm out there, Jerry, and I'm loving it. Sorry.
I'm on the corner of First and First. It's the nexus of the universe. We're making Seinfeld quotes for those of you that don't kind of get where we're coming from. So I want to just move to our next topic. Last night, Trevor Noah, the South African Scorpion, took aim at Marjorie Taylor Greene, a woman who recently won a Georgia Republican primary and will shortly be elected to Congress in her deep red 14th district. Congress is about to get a lot crazier off at Noah. He alleged Green 46 has a long history of racism and pushing conspiracy theories. He said she's recently called the Jewish businessman George Soros, businessman, a Nazi. Can't disagree with that one. Compared the elections of Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib to Congress to an Islamic invasion. Again, can't disagree with that one either. And said some minorities find themselves unemployed because they are lazy. Duh. And accused the Democratic Party of keeping black people in a modern-day form of slavery. Again, true. Noah explained, and if you're wondering what's QAnon, well, it's a movement that believes that Hollywood and the Democratic Party are actually a secret worldwide child sex trafficking ring whose members harvest the blood of children for its life-extending properties, and that the only person protecting the world... I've got to stop doing that accent because my mouth feels like a constipated asshole. This evil Donald Trump No, Tom Hanks did not flee to Greece to avoid pedophilia charges. You sickos fake Jeffrey Epstein flight logs, lead QAnon crazies to target Chrissy Teigen and Beyonce. I mean, that's like Cardi B trying to protect the world from people who make bird sounds. Just what do you have to hide yourself, Noah, defending these damn reprobates? I mean, aren't these liberal comedians just brainwashed a little bit too much?
Oh, brainwashed just enough to make zero sense. But Trevor Noah, he's so inconsequential to me
Yeah.
that I didn't even know who he was. I had to look him up. And his picture is vaguely familiar, all right? But it looks like an elephant sat on the top of his head and crushed his forehead down to about 3 inches. And if there was a brain in there at all, the compression might have been less, but there was just no resistance inside the cavity of his skull.
Right.
But he laughs at these conspiracy theories as if there's no such thing as conspiracies.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I have to.
It only takes 2 or 3 people to plan something, and that's your conspiracy.
Yeah, but let's face it, the left are more than happy to believe any old bullshit. Oh, Chrissy Teigen didn't go on the flights. You know, neither did Tom Hanks, neither did this person, neither did that person, and the flight logs were falsified. I just kind of think if you're that gullible, because if there were Republicans on this list, and I'm sure there are, you know, I would think, yeah, you need your ass kicking for going to a pedophile island too. It's not about politics; it's about morality and right and wrong. Surely, and I tell you what, you didn't even say how wonderful my South African accent was, CV. So I'll be taking umbrage with you about
so I
that
can't
later.
tell the difference between a South African accent and a British accent. Sorry.
Well, I don't have a British accent, but I will let you off this once.
But he acts like he's totally ignorant of the fact that the DNC never denied the WikiLeaks emails were fabricated. I mean, they never claimed the WikiLeaks emails were fabricated. Instead, they blamed Russia for the hacking.
Yeah.
And even that wasn't true. We know Seth Rich was murdered for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
And even inside the WikiLeaks emails themselves, it shows John Podesta putting out a hit on Seth Rich.
Right.
So the left believe what they want to believe. Facts don't enter into the equation for them.
Oh, of course not.
They're like the cancer patients who've had the left hemisphere of their brains removed, and all they have left are just emotions.
Right. Right.
But go ahead. I'm talking too much.
No.
Go ahead.
No, carry on. That's what you're here for.
Well, I personally don't follow QAnon. It's probably John Brennan trying to confuse people on the right. Nothing Q has ever predicted ever came true. And notice Q followers never credit Trump himself.
No.
It's always trust the plan. Trust the plan.
Yeah.
As if Trump is just like a cardboard cutout, but there's a great communal effort behind him that deserves all the credit, not Trump himself.
But
Q is the Trump substitute.
Yeah, to me that's bullshit. Because I get emails every day from people saying, "Oh, do you support the Q?" I'm like, I don't even support the ball to play the game with. That's how ridiculous it is to me. But let me ask you this. A lot of people say, oh, conservatives think that Trump is their savior. Jesus is my savior, as I'm sure Jesus is your savior too. But don't you ever kind of think how lucky an escape we had with regards to not having Hillary Clinton for 4 years?
Well, they weren't very enthusiastic of Hillary Clinton like Trump's loyalists were enthusiastic about him. But they worshipped the ground Obama walked on.
Right.
I mean, you had pictures of Obama in newspapers with a halo around his head.
Right.
All right, don't talk to me about worshiping Trump.
Yeah.
I'm not worshiping Trump. I'm just damn glad that somebody had the balls to stand up and go against these people.
Okay,
These rotten globalist Satanists. And he has the balls
I
to
agree.
get up and give them what they deserve. So I stand up and I applaud Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
And I got his back, man.
But take a
I
breath.
got his back.
But take a breath while doing so, my brother.
I don't have time. I don't have time to take a breath.
Exactly,
But I want to
exactly.
say
But
something
you should,
about
because you
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
keel
I
over.
agree with her on most things.
Right.
There is definitely a ubiquitous satanic cult which seems prevalent among the idle rich who have way too much time and money on their hands and who grew up in a secular world without God and the Bible.
Right.
And they were taught that all successful people cheated to get where they are. Another reason why they hated Donald Trump. And that's believable to them because they all were born into old money and they never had to work a day in their lives. So they're resentful of success and are rebellious against all that is good. That's why Satanism appeals to them so much.
Exactly. Absolutely. And I don't know, I think the huge concern of all of this is the stupidity of the left kind of not to recognize. And this is why I never fitted in as a Democrat, because I questioned everything that was kind of put forward to me. And I think it's essential to do so. And still, even Republicans, I tell everybody, question everything that is told to you. We are over time, but tell people where they can find you and where they can listen to Freedom on Deck.
Every Sunday at 3 p.m. we're live. All you have to do is go to freedomondeck.com and click the listen button. It's that simple. And then if you miss the show, on the home page right there on top is the last episode that we did. And you can listen to that and take your time. You can do gardening, you can cook, you can bake, and listen to our show in the background. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And go to our news page, which I update on most days, and it's culled together from the most reliable news sources on the internet. And it's a lot of fun. And please support your brothers in solidarity.
Absolutely. Thank you so much to my brother in truth, C.V. Burton from Freedom on Deck. We will speak to you very soon, my friend.
Thank you, my good man.
Thanks a lot, buddy. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That was C.V. Burton from Freedom on Deck. Make sure you go and check out Freedom on Deck and tell them Xander Gibb sent you. I will be a guest there this Sunday, so make sure you get yourself over to there at freedomondeck.com. Thanks to everybody who's made today's show possible. Thanks to Dr. Gerard Lamiro. Make sure you check him out at greatnewsforamerica.com. All of his contact information is on the show page for this week. Thanks again to C.V. Burton from Freedom on Deck. Thanks to my good friend and brother in truth, Chet Martin from Freedom on Deck. Make sure you check them out too. Thanks to everybody in the live feed. There is no show tomorrow, but we will be back with you next Monday, usual time. Not had your fill of the Gibbster. You can check me out at XanderGibb.com. And as I said, join us again on Monday, 5 nights a week, 5 Pacific, 7 Central, 8 Eastern, 1 in the UK, 10 a.m. the next day in Australia. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Click the share button. And I really do love you all. Have a safe weekend. And don't let the bastards get you down. I love you all. I've been Xander Gibb. Bye-bye.
It has been good to me this time around. Things were the other bound to change when it was found. Sugar never tasted sweeter on my lips. My heart is now intact and I can find no ribs. This is love, yeah, love. Never known true love before. Seen so many counterfeits.
Click the bell button and subscribe to keep up with the Xander Gibb Show. Oh yes, sirree.